Hey everybody, it's Joseph Christ of 4Player Network, and I'm here with Guillaume, creator director of Contrast. How you doing, man?
Very good, man.
So we just played this wonderful, fantastic game, and there's two main things that kind of stand out for me. And number one is the main gameplay ability, which is the ability for the main character to jump in and out of shadow, and that's kind of how you go around the world and solve the puzzles. And the second is the beautiful 1920s Art Deco aesthetic, which I'm in love with. It's so well done. So first of all, about the aesthetic, it's so well done and complete, right down to the dialogue and the music. How did that vision just sort of start and come together for you?
Well, it really, the vision for the aesthetic came out of the gameplay first. So we developed the mechanic, and we really busted our asses to figure out what would be the best type of setting to fill it. I originally penned the idea while I was in Lyon in France. So a lot of the architecture that we built from it came from that city. Actually, the game really looks very similar to the actual city of Lyon. And we felt like film noir, which traditionally uses like shadows as a storytelling technique, was one of the best tools at our disposal to really kind of help blend the context and shape for it. And the rest just came through iteration. You know, I hired a really young concept artist out of school, Whitney, who actually drew the drawings that are behind you. Very talented, who really understood the visual identity for the game, and we built a visual identity over the last 2.5 years.
Fantastic. And you had told me before the music is specially made for the game, 1920s aesthetic. Who was the artist? How did you come with that?
Well, I originally wanted to license out like a really famous artist, but being a really big studio with a lot of cash.
Right, and we know all about 4Player Network as well. We know all about just, I wake up in the morning and just shoveling through the bushels of cash to get to the bathroom in the morning.
So EMI was asking for a little bit too much money.
Yeah.
So I went home, I was a bit disappointed, and I just heard this contemporary jazz singer, her name's Laura Ellis, and I really fell in love with her work, and I cold called her one night, and I said, hey, we really love your music, can we use one of your songs for the trailer? And she said yes, and basically donated the song for us to be able to use in the trailer.
Nice.
And then when we posted our game on Greenlight, the community was really reacting to the soundscape, and they were really interested in the sound that we had delivered. So I phoned her again, and I said, well, if we wrote lyrics and composed music, would you perform songs for the game? And so that's basically how it ended up. A simple phone call ended up in having a professional jazz singer sing custom music for our game.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So going to the gameplay now, I mean, we played a demo, and in the demo we played, we were sort of puzzle solving, we were moving lights to go into the shadows and whatnot. What other uses besides the puzzles, just the main puzzle solving we did with the in the game is sort of comes out? Like, how does that evolve throughout the gameplay?
Right. Well, I was very inspired by Portal when I originally penned the design for the game. So what we wanted to do is, light and shadows have a lot of depth to it. We can actually play through it, but we wanted to kind of introduce it to the players slowly, so that the players come through realizations throughout, the different acts of the game. They come through story realizations, but also through gameplay realizations of figuring out new ways in which to use lights. So you played a little bit of Act 1 and then a little bit of Act 2. So from the puzzle perspective, being able to manipulate the light sources, moving them around, bringing objects closer to the light will also grow the shadows that they're casting.
Yeah,
so there's really a lot of different combinations in which you can actually affect the shadow landscape that you can then traverse.
That's beautiful. Sort of you're affecting the 2D space by moving the 3D space, which creates it.
That's exactly it. That was one of our pillars. We really wanted to blend the 3D space with the 2D space together, so that the experience of playing would really force you to think both in terms of puzzle and in terms of platforming, to think about the two spaces concurrently.
It's like four-sided chess, It's like
really, something like that. Yeah.
So what is the story?
So we didn't want to tell the typical, princess story and magical story. We wanted to tell a little bit more of a grounded story. So the story revolves around a little girl who is trying to bring her parents back together. Actually, so she's, she lives in the 20s. Her parents, both are in performing arts. So her mother's a singer in a cabaret. Her father is organizing a circus. And she's going through some pretty heavy shit. And as her companion, you're the imaginary friend of this little girl. You're helping her both cope and resolve a family situation.
It's fun. I was talking to one of the people exhibitors here at your booth, and he sort of explained that concept, and I said, that's true, because a lot of our stories are smaller stories in the grand crux of things, so it's much easier for you to sort of get involved in this story because it's so relatable.
That's exactly it. I agree. And I think, there's been a trend in games to really start tackling more interesting, less fantastical, perhaps, a concept that might have a little bit more emotional depth to it.
Do you think that's because games are sort of becoming more of an all-inclusive thing, and we more have these smaller stories all amongst ourselves, so people are sort of attached to that sort of thing. And Grand Wizards and Dragons, that's all fun and all, but it's sort of detached. And as gaming gets bigger, us as a community are more akin to these smaller lifelike stories.
Yeah, I think it's a couple of those things. I think gamers are getting older.
That's it too. Yeah, yeah.
You know, like
yeah.
when you look at, there's a lot of gamers that do have kids. We didn't want to make our game about parenthood only, but I think we're ready for more interesting and more mature subjects, and we're also reaching more of a mainstream audience, like the film industry
Sure.
did. You know, when the film industry started, it was only for a male audience
Right.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think I see the trend of us starting to reach out to a wider audience.
Right.
And we wanted to encourage that, but still remain true to ourselves in making a really interesting game.
So you guys are you're still on Steam Greenlight, or did you make it yet, or people vote?
We were one of the first titles to get greenlit.
Oh, fantastic! Great.
Yeah, we had almost 200,000 users come vote for us.
Right.
If you're listening, thank you. That's great. So yeah, we've been greenlit.
Excellent, fantastic. And when is it going to be released to the masses?
So we're looking to release on Steam for PC around May at
Okay.
this point.
Right.
We don't have a firm week yet, but it'll be around that time frame period. And
Okay.
we have a bunch of release plans for other platforms, but we're still keeping those under our skin.
Great, fantastic. Well, I loved it. I thought it was just fantastic.
All right.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great talking to you.
Thank you.
It's been Joseph Christ, 4playernetwork.com. Check us out. Thanks.